Welcome into the Beat Sessions, your place for all things music. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's talk about this new record from the Murder Capital entitled Blindness. They released that on February 21st. This is the third studio album for the Irish Quintet and their follow-up to 2023's Gigi's Recovery, one of my favorite records from that year. And the Murder Capital are just one of my favorite bands that are out there doing the damn thing. This is a band that at this stage in their career just knows what they're about. And it makes me so excited for what the future holds for them and future projects. Makes me really stoked to get into a venue and see them on stage again, because they bring the same vigor and the same passion to the stage that they do in the studio. You listen to these guys and you don't just hear the chemistry pouring off the record, you feel it. You can feel that these guys really enjoy working together and creating. You have the same five guys since the band's inception in 2017. James McGovern on vocals. You have Damien Tuitt, Cathal Roper on guitars, Gabriel Blake on bass, and Dermot Brennan on drums. These guys truly are on the same page with each other, and I love that with each new project, it feels that they just know what direction they want to take their sound in, what direction they want to explore, and how they want to open up their sound. And I take it back to their first record, When I Have Fears, put out in 2019, produced by Flood. That's a guy that just doesn't work with anyone. And it's pretty remarkable when you think that these guys starting their own record label in Human Season, committing to that principle of creating art on their own terms. It's a luxury that artists have in 2025, but it's definitely a tougher route to take. You don't have the elements of promotion. You don't have all the perks that go along with working with a record label. But at the same time, when you have a guy like Flood working with you on your first record, I would argue that there's Flood, and then there's a number of other individuals that really saw the potential in this outfit, really saw what they were capable of and how they could move forward as a band and really not just change their own sound and develop their own sound, but really change the direction of music in and of itself. I cannot say enough good things about this band, and especially what they've done with the last two records. I think that When I Have Fears is an album that is phenomenal, but a lot of people were really quick to just slap that post-punk label on it and call it a day. I think that these guys took that in stride and really made a conscious effort to subvert that and to show people that they were capable of so much more. And that's what is so brilliant about Gigi's Recovery. It's an album that explores so much sonically. These guys are a band that they really take their themes, James, as far as his lyrics, into some dark territory, whether it's introspective or whether he's talking about external issues. But I think with Gigi's Recovery, the band was focused on exploring that darkness in silence and in space. It's one of those albums where there's almost more going on when you hear those sounds of silence, when you're hearing that space, and there is with the instrumentation. And I think that's really cool. I think it's one of the things that makes that album and so many of the songs on it so impressive. But this new record, though, is a phenomenal sense of urgency. And I love that they're working with John Congleton on both of these projects. Another guy that, his resume is just as impressive as Flood's. But I really think that they've found their guy in John. He just strikes me as the type of cat that when he steps into the studio with a band, especially when he's working with these guys, he just has such great chemistry, and he just knows when to step in, when to have influence, but is very aware that it shouldn't be too much, that these guys really should have their space and their freedom to explore their creativity. The sense of urgency that I talk about, it starts even with the songwriting process. These guys talk about how there were no demos. They're basically just recording songs on their iPhones, and half the time that it took between this record and the last two records, it was 4 years in between When I Have Fears and Gigi's Recovery. We're looking at a little over 2 years now between the release of Gigi's Recovery and Blindness. But, going out on tour with some massive acts, I know that they were out there with Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds. That is pretty cool. They made a conscious effort to get back to the creative process and to really just fire off, really let that urgency also be organic. And that's one of the fun things about this record. It is in your face. It's an intense 40 minutes, and you don't quite get that exploration of sound and space that you got on Gigi's Recovery, but there's so much intensity and there's so much in the guitar licks that I'm loving about this. I also love that there's kind of like an element of looseness, and that's not to be confused with the sonic exploration that took place on Gigi's Recovery. I think that on this new record, Gabriel and Dairman in the rhythm section just find themselves creating grooves that are a little looser, a little more casual, and it's incredible the dynamic that exists between that rhythm and the intensity of the guitar play that's coming from Damien and Cathal. So I love that. I love that about the record. I love the thematic exploration that is pretty consistent with their music. But James looking a lot at romance and love on this particular record, while also looking at some of the external issues that affect their native island and affect the world. He talks about issues of homelessness, poverty, mental illness. This is a guy that genuinely just wants to pursue music and to pursue art to create awareness and to make the world a better place. And it's tough. I don't know if art is necessarily the best medium for change, but I know that art is something that everybody enjoys. And I think that versus other avenues, you're going to have a lot more people listen to you when you take this route. Again, like I don't know about the effectiveness of it. I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments section as far as how effective you think art is from a standpoint of social change. I think that there's plenty of examples where art and music in particular really have created change, really have propelled the world into a different direction. And so it's a crapshoot, I would argue. You never know if your music or if your art is going to have that impact. But I think these guys are moving in the right direction. And I think that they really are one of the better bands out there with regards to that, with regards to just making people have a sense of awareness of themselves and the world around them. Really, really one of my favorite things about these guys. This album just immediately from the beginning kicks off with that urgency, with that intensity that I talked about in Moonshot. It comes out furious. I love the way that the vocals enter, and then the intensity of the song backs off a little bit. It's really kind of a cool exchange with that introduction. Drums, especially the hi-hat, are very prominent on this song, very driving, very urgent and in your face as well. But just a wonderful breakdown in this song. And I love the way that leads into the return of the intensity to close this thing out. It is a marvelous number. I'm excited to see this track live. It's going to be really cool. Words Lost Meaning is your second track. We're going to back things off a little bit. I really like the heavy guitar tone and the blues drive to this song. But it's grungy. It's chunky. It's kind of in that sludgy territory. So it doesn't have the intensity that Moonshot does, but it definitely has the heaviness and might even be a little more heavy in what's going on. But it's the synths that move in on the second verse. I love that element. You get this kind of like light twinkly effect that works in. Dirty guitar solo, really just taking that sludginess to a whole new level. This is a song that the first band I thought of when I heard it was Typo Negative, a band that I really wish I'm going to make an effort to listen to them more, because I've always loved them and I've always loved their sound, but it's like a lot of bands, you only have so much time and you fall into pockets of space where you listen to what you love. And I'm looking forward to giving Typo Negative more of my time. And I love this song for that reason. It really reminded me a lot of what that band did. Can't Pretend to Know is your third track. Drum roll is going to open up this frenzied texture, rolling bass and breakbeat percussion. Got kind of this gothic piano element that's at work on the track. It's simple but powerful. I really love the effect that it has on the song. You got this track that really embodies indie rock meeting post punk, and the driving guitars are just really a highlight for me. They're excellent, especially on the back end of this track. The way that they build to that. A Distant Life is your fourth track. Doing something pretty different on this track. I really love this moment on the record and the creative turn sonically that they kind of take, throwing something different out there. Mellow vocal and electric guitar open, basically just the feature here on this track as it opens. Garage rock and really kind of that 50s rock and roll sound at work here. You know, think Chuck Berry, think Buddy Holly, think of those artists that really developed the genre in the 50s. I'd argue that it's a big part of what is at the focus and base of this song. Instrumental sections are really funky. I like that exchange. I like when the lyrics drop, when James disappears from the song. The track takes just a more groovy angle. Percussive bells that work in, and there's some great guitar that's working in on the second verse there that I absolutely love. Just again, an excellent turn in mood coming at the right time on this record. Born Into a Fight is your fifth track. Gentle, eerie synths, soft electro percussion that are going to lead this song to open. The synths drop in place of the vocal. I love that. There's quite a bit of that I feel going on this record, where you get this great instrumental focus and then James shows up. Like the music will drop out and then James comes in to just take a hold of you, and it has a great effect. Wonderful lead guitar on this song. Got it's kind of like rattling surf rock feel to it. Guitars are they find structural form and ambient tone. So there's moments where I kind of feel like you're getting a little bit of that Gigi influence on this record. But the chorus enters in with intensity, with fierce energy, really kind of like getting back into that mood that this record opened up with Moonshot. Love of Country is your sixth track. Twangy electric riff is going to open this thing. It has this loose quality, and that's, I mentioned it previously. Like while these songs they're tight and they're energetic and they're very driven, there is this loose kind of insouciant quality to them that's really a lot of fun. It's a great dynamic that makes these songs wonderful. Vocal's going to enter, sharing space with the guitar that comes in. Just a simple arpeggiated riff that's going to work in. The second guitar is going to just really create this light, playful texture that's very unique and fun. It's going to usher in the rhythm, and this song intensifies as it continues to build. And I just want to read some of the lyrics too here, because I think that this is a track that it's not gonna let me pull up the lyrics. Here we go. Guard in my position, make me want to die. Pull up in that empty hearse and let my spirit fly. Gods of all commotions spread their seed across the land. I freaking love that line. That's amazing. Doesn't your love of country, or don't you love your country? Don't you love your fellow man? Guard in my position, make me want to fly. Pull up in that horse-drawn casket and let my spirit die. The cause of all commotion spread their seed across the land, making love to country, making love to fellow man. Great poem that goes on. James talks about how the guys were just sitting in the room, and he was sitting there in their notebook, and they're like, "What are you doing?" And he's like, "I'm writing a poem." And then he throws it out there, and all of them are just like, "Wow. Like, we have to work with that. That is spot on. That's exactly where we want to be." Really an impressive lyrical moment from one of my favorite lyricists that is out there. I think James is just so impressive in that regard. The Fall is your seventh track. Highlight for me on this record. It's a terrific song. Soft drums and gentle but jarring guitars are going to work in the backdrop. Vocal matches the subtlety at first of this song, but then it intensifies, and I love the movement of James's vocal element here in this track. Song just explodes in a just a wonderful fashion. Verse features this breakbeat and an intense guitar riff. Kind of felt a little bit of At the Drive-In on this song, but the chorus is intense, and the song is going to drift into this quiet moment. And then I really love the shift that it takes and just blows up into a big finish. A really cool number there. Death of a Giant is your eighth track. Talking about Shane MacGowan, lead singer of the Pogues. Rest in peace. Just a wonderful musician. It was a shame to have lost him. But you get this rollicking electric riff that's going to usher in driving percussion. Vocal enters to continue the build on this track, followed by bass and a second guitar. Phenomenal energy builds in this brief track. It really is a great homage to a great Celtic musician. Swallow is your ninth track. Swinging drums and soft guitar are going to open this thing. The vocal hits, and followed by this transition into the percussion. I really just like the galloping feel that this song adopts. Excuse me. You got these ambient textures that build throughout the song. The solo is fabulous on this track. You're going to get that about halfway through, and just a great balance between this feeling of peace and anxiousness. It's a great dynamic that they build in the mood of that song. That Feeling is your penultimate track. Ominous synth that moves around in this military style fashion. Soft driving bass is going to push its way around peacefully. Really love what Gabriel's doing on this track. Just this like kind of like clanging surf rock riff that's at work on this song, and it's going to slowly build into this barrage of guitars that just pour on you. It's absolutely terrific. And then Trailing a Wing is your 11th and final song. Simple electric guitar, got these brushed soft drums, kind of a different feel and mood from the rest of the album. A little more mellow. You got this kind of like loungy bossa nova feel that's at play on the track. It's going to inspire this just really relaxed feel. The second verse just sweeps in. You got this unnerving, kind of just it really just interesting song that's fashioned here with that. Again, like with That Feeling, what I was talking about, you get this this peaceful quality that matches that nervousness and that tension that's really unique, and one of the things that I think this band does really well. Phenomenal record, 11 songs, 41 minutes. It's a much more intense experience, I think, from a musical standpoint than Gigi's Recovery. I think thematically and lyrically, both those records are on the same page. But you have a band now that I think is going to be so consistent down the road with whatever they choose to do stylistically with their sound, and I continue to be so impressed by them. These guys, we're gonna vinyl please this, absolutely. I'm gonna give this record an 8.4 out of 10. It is up there for me already as one of the best albums of the year, and I hope you guys give this a spin if you haven't already. I hope you really enjoy this record and find this review helpful. Please like this video and share it, subscribe to the channel, do all the things to help me blow this project up in 2025, and stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews. And also tune into the live show, Classic Wax, on Thursday night at 8 p.m. Mountain Standard Time, and we will see you next time on the Beat Sessions.